Hi all, welcome to another Seasons in Garden video. Today we're going to install the bean trellis and also do some fall planting. But first, let me introduce our privets. All of them are great except the last one. This branch is still alive, but the fourth one is dead. But okay, since I have to take care of the privet balls over here, I will just put one of the branches when I cut them into the ground and it will root over the winter. Now this is what I'm super excited about. It's my amaranth. The plants that survived them all are doing great. And also, even though there's a drought and there's a mole in the garden, the two cabbages, minica, that are mini cabbages, survived, and the tomatoes are doing great. I even managed to pick one carrot, and I have planted guerrilla beans everywhere where there was a spot that was available, so some of them are soon going to get ready for harvest. Also, what I've been doing these days is stripping the chipped paint from this swing set so that we can repaint it. So the first thing on my agenda is to install these trellises. These are actually two super cheap budget trellises that are going to do the trick for the beans and the Hokkaido pumpkins that we grow. I'm going to install them here in the middle section of my garden. When I was doing the borders, I have made it so that there's exactly the width between the borders in the middle section so that these trellises will actually fit. So I'm going to unpack the trellis, and then when I take my tool of choice for connecting the trellis, I'm going to read the instructions. Now here you can see me reading the instructions. I might be reading them, but my brain's not picking them up. Like, I have no idea what I'm looking at, even though they're so easy. My brain just was not really focused on it. I was too excited to get started. And now I'm just going to unpack the stuff, and I'm first going to connect, of course, the wrong parts together. And then after I, again, this time actually read the instructions, I am going to connect the trellis almost as manufacturer intended it to be connected. Yes, of course, I messed stuff up, and no, I did not feel like actually taking it all down just to have AA and BB on its spot. It still works though. I think the metal here is aluminium, so it's super easy to connect. It goes super fast, and honestly, I was like done in no time. While I was connecting the trellis, the Grumpy, for all you Grumpy fans, was taking care of the grass, because we haven't mown the grass in like a month or so since it's drought. reason that I got these two budget trellises is because I had an idea that I could maybe reconfigure them so that they come up into a pergola, but for that I actually needed a bit more space, and this isn't something that I had, so I ditched the idea in the end and just connected the two pergolas so that one is above the other. Now this is the part when I start to overcomplicate and overthink things about how to connect the tops. Because like I said, I wanted to play with it a bit and connect these two in a bit different manner. Adding to my confusion was the fact that at one point I lost my screwdriver. Luckily Grumpy was there and he found it. I just kicked it somewhere in the grass at one point. I have no idea why. So I messed up the configuration of the top and I had to redo these ones. But after that everything was going great. And this is the result. I'm very pleased on how it's looking. It's actually looking like one structure even though it's two. The only thing that it will need is it's going to need a bit more of the mesh in between. And this is like so budget that the top one is actually shorter than the rest of the rest of the horizontal ones. And we had one screw that's missing, but we reported it, so hopefully we'll get it. But these are my beautiful amaranths. I can't wait for the seeds to be done because I simply love amaranth. And now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to do some fall, or at least attempt to seed some things for fall. Since we're still in a drought, there's still going to be a heat wave. It's very questionable whether my fall garden will work out or if it's going to fail miserably. But I will still give it a try, you know. I will just sow a little bit now and then a little bit later so that in case the first sowing fails, I still have some things left. So in this, I'm planting the little gem lettuce, which is our favorite lettuce. This is the one that we always buy and eat. And I'm hoping that this time I won't mess up the planting, because last year I planted it I sowed it too late and it didn't spring up. But this year it's much warmer, so the soil is warmer, and I think that this year I will be actually successful. And of course I'm not sowing it too deeply so that it's in a very shallow hole. Now I'm only planting half of the row because the other half of the row is actually Swiss chard, and you can see it behind it. But also, like I said, I want to make this a bit staggered so that I plant half of the two rows with little gem now, and I still have some space for at least one more row of little gem. I'm also going to plant this Galba salad now. Now this is something that's very similar to the romaine lettuce, so I think that we could enjoy it, but you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot and then I'm going to see how we like it and if it's going to spring up. I was really struggling today with these little packages. I have no idea why, but these were so hard to open. And again, I'm now sowing just a little bit of them. And then in about 2 weeks, I'm going to sow some more, simply so that there's a bit more moisture in the ground. They should still be okay if they're sown at the beginning of the September. But we will see. I don't know, the weather has been like really weird these years, and especially now we are constantly in a drought since the springtime, and it's been super hard. After I have adjusted the tomato a bit, I am going to plant another thing that I want to try out, and these are these radishes that are called Zlata. Zlata is actually the name of my late grandmother, so I would love to try these radishes, and if we like them, then we can grow them. These like a bit cooler weather, and I think that they are going to be just fine planted now and then grown until autumn. I'm also going to plant sow a little bit now, and then in 2 weeks I'm gonna sow some more and I'm gonna see what's going to be better for them. Last thing that I'm going to plant is actually the planting that I'm gonna do for winter and early springtime. I have to first pull some of the overgrown calendulas in this border, because they have really gone bonkers now that we were on vacation. But between these amaranth, I'm going to sow some kale. Well, it was supposed to be like a leafy cabbage more than a kale, and it's called emerald. We'll see how it tastes. It's a bit of an experiment for me because we are not big lovers of kale. I like kale, but Grumpy hates it. It's a passion of his to hate kale, I think, and everything that's made out of kale. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe this one he likes. We have a rule in the house that he has to try something at least once. And then if he hates it after that, I'm not going to force him to eat it. But he still has to try it once. So I'm planting this between the amaranth because I know that the kale is just going to start to grow and amaranth is now nearing its end. So we are soon going to cut it and to harvest the sticks. My last task for the day was to pick the ripe tomatoes. Now I already did a tomato harvest yesterday, so we only had these 3 little ones. But quite frankly, when I put them into the bowl of tomatoes that I currently have on my counter, that's gonna be just fine. We can call it a day. Grumpy is finishing up with the watering of the garden, and that's it. My gorilla beans are growing slowly. I'm hoping for a bean harvest this year. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.